Hello and welcome back to Tier Zero Gaming. We're bringing you another Saturday night modern event. This one is from July 20th. I'm Mike, joined today by my good friend Malachi.
Hello.
Hi, Malachi.
I know it's been a minute.
Malachi, this is the first one we're getting to do together, isn't it?
Yes, good old Eminem.
Let's go. Just not as lyrically talented.
No. I mean, I got away with words. It's just not musically.
Alright, so today for round one we have Bryan on his Sultai control deck, and round one against you, buddy. That's a guild gate, friend.
It is. I'm very excited about this match. Uh, just to preface it, this deck is not good.
Okay.
First and foremost, very pretty. I put a lot of work into making this deck as pretty as I could.
Okay. That's a different guild gate.
So
Is that Simic and Azorius?
yeah,
Oh yeah, Arboreal Grazer. Let's go. Your good friend. Never leave home without him.
no, he's the best one dropping all of Magic the Gathering. See, all I'm
Urza Saga too.
Yeah, Urza Saga, to grab the amulets to have the Gilgits in there untapped. When you have a janky mana base like this, like, you have to have them coming untapped because you just fall so behind on the curve. So I'm running the 4 amulets, 4 Spelunkings.
Okay, I was gonna ask
Yeah.
about Spelunking.
So we're running, like, the whole untap my lands package. And that's
Okay.
mostly to allow me to, in the late game when it matters, to have my Mazes in come untap so I can pay it, return it, find another
Sure.
bounce line to untap that one to be able to float it for mana, and then, maybe play the Mazes End again and do it and loop it with like Azuzas and multiple amulets.
Okay.
Was the idea behind the deck.
So what are we looking at as far as ways to put extra lands into play? I see the Arboreal Grazer in play. You mentioned Azusa.
So Azusa, Splunking, obviously we have Growth Spirals, Explorers, and then the best card in the deck, Primeval Titan. So,
Okay. All right. So we are just a shitty take on Amulet Titan
Yeah.
for the memes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's quite literally just that.
Absolutely. Okay.
No, and I went into this event knowing that I probably wasn't going to do very well.
Sure, but it's fun.
Yeah, that was the idea behind it. What actually started the idea for this deck was
Yeah. Good block.
is 2 things. Block the Boreal Grazer, or block the Tamio with the Boreal Grazer. That thing
Yeah.
has reach and that thing has flying, and they
It's
both
true.
have 0 power. Alright, Amulet. But like I was saying, the reason I built this deck, one, was because I've actually grinded 2 Mythic with this deck in Historic.
That's
Obviously, there
hilarious.
was the I get the Arena Gates and the Baldur's Gate in Historic, but I played Mythic with this. I played a Mythic with this deck, so I'm very knowledgeable how this deck works and how the lines work with this deck. And having Amulet almost feels like an upgrade, but of course we're playing in a more powerful format where it's less good.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, for 3 weeks in a row, whenever I got my promo for Saturday Night Modern,
Mm-hmm.
it would be Maze's End, and I think to myself, I should build a Maze's End deck.
Gotcha.
And after the
Okay.
3rd time I lifted up and saw the Maze's End, I'm like,
That's
I
funny.
have to build this deck. This is destiny. This has to happen.
So for those listening, Malachi's mentioning the promos at the end. We just kind of like whenever we have leftover promos or extra promos from any kind of events, we throw them into a box and give them away randomly during events. So Malachi is talking about these old Dragon's Maze pre-release promo Mazes Ends that we found in a box in a bulk bin and just put into our promo box to give away.
Yeah. So, control player definitely here, seeing the Growth Spiral, seeing what's happening, and Spell pierces the Growth Spiral, which is...
Yeah, counterspelled the
Which is
first
awesome.
amulet, spell piercing the growth spiral. No fun for you, Malachi.
Nah, it's all good. As long as I have control player shaking to the boost, that was the primary goal of this deck. No, but I do want to talk about the Growth Spiral, and just kind of how Magic has so much like variety in their card arts now that whenever I was looking for Growth Spirals to put into this deck, I was going to do the F&M promos, the ones that have like the
Yeah.
color in the text box.
Yeah.
These are Ripple Foil Growth Spirals, so they have a special foiling treatment that has them like they look like little raindrops on them.
Huh.
And I didn't know they existed.
Yeah, me either. They have to be from Ravnica Remastered.
I think so, or I think it was from a commander deck or something like that.
Oh, wild.
I have
Okay.
no idea actually, but I
Sure.
just saw them on TCG Player, and I was like, they were like $1 more than the other Growth Spirals, and I was like, whatever. I'll see what's up.
Fair enough. Yeah, I do have the those old promo pack ones or FNM ones.
Yes,
whatever they
and
were.
those were the ones I was really gonna
Yeah.
pick. So I already had 2 of them. But
Yeah, I really like those. I like the way the frames just kind of
Okay.
pop with those old foil
So
frames.
Tameo shying in awe that it can never be Guildgate Summit. I want to talk about how absurd that card is, and obviously in mod, I'm going to talk about this deck while I'm describing kind of like the lines that I'm playing, and the terms on like a historic standpoint, because obviously we already know we've established this deck is not good in modern.
Right, right.
So I'm putting these cards in expectation of historic. Guildgate Summit or Guild Summit is an absurd card. I mean, that thing
This
is
is this thing lets you draw a card on ETB if you control a gate,
no.
right?
So if you play it, so whenever it enters the battlefield,
Yeah.
you can tap any number of untapped gates you
And
control
draw
and draw
that.
many cards.
Okay.
And then
and then
afterwards,
whenever you
a
play a gate,
yeah, you get to draw a card.
So the first one is usually like comes down, you play a gate, you draw a card.
Yeah.
And then future ones, when you have a bunch of lands in play, are just like almost Sphinx's Revelation.
Yes. And it is in the control matchup. The fact that that thing resolved. I mean, I am so happy right now. Like,
We don't need a growth spiral.
no. We're
We
drawing
needed a
our
guild
entire
summit.
we have a Tatiova on board right now. Like every single time we play a land, we get to draw a card, and it's just crazy.
And
So
the Grazer has managed to keep your life total
Yep.
at 20.
So,
definitely nothing to do with Tamio having 0
Yeah.
power.
So right now, see what I'm talking about is I'm turning this mazes into my hand to go find a gate,
Yeah.
which is going to enter untapped and also draw me a card off of the gate.
Yep.
So, I mean, we have lines. The deck does the thing. Obviously,
And last I checked, you still can't counterspell lands.
you cannot. It's our God-given right.
Our Garfield given right.
Our Garfield-given right. I get land for turn.
Can't stop me.
You cannot. But I remember the conversation me and Alex were having while this game was going on. He was just like, "Oh God, what do I do?" He's looking at his Tamio and it's like his Boris state, and I'm like, "We're turning this mazes into my hand and playing another gate, and it's just one more closer to
Yeah.
him losing the game." And he's like, "What do I even do about this?" And I was like, "I don't know, figure it out. It's not my problem."
Yeah. So, what could, like, he's Sultai, so it's hard for him to play something like Harbinger of the Seas.
Yes.
So he can't just turn off your cards that way. He reasonably could have Consigned to Memory, but that only stops it one time.
Yes. Tideminder can stop mazes and trigger
One
once.
time.
Yeah.
More Grazer, more
So
Counterspell.
yeah, so this is what I love the most about this deck is when I played against two control decks
Over the course of the night.
over the course of the night, and every time having my Grazer get countered gave me like a sense of like
That's your boy.
yeah,
He
I was like,
earned a counter
yes,
spell.
he's so powerful that my control player had to counter the Grazer. It feels so good. And then so like I get to run some of my favorite sideboard tech with.
I love that you keep blocking. It's cracking me up. It really is.
I mean, yeah, why not? I got a reach blocker that can block that flyer. I'm not gonna not do it.
under no threat whatsoever, still blocking.
Okay, so now we got a clock.
That's a threat.
Yes, that's a threat, and I believe I don't want to spoil too much going into the next game, but this card is extremely powerful and maybe a bit too. And it's kind of proving the point that modern is just like leaps and bounds more powerful than what other formats can be doing.
Sure. Well, Historic gets the frog now, doesn't it?
I believe it does, but so you don't have the same support that you do for.
Yeah, okay.
So like we don't have preordains or anything like that, so we can't.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah,
obviously we don't have life in the loan.
Is
don't think-
Counterspell even on Historic, or did they ban it? I don't remember.
That kind of spell I think is still legal.
I have no idea.
So I'm pretty sure Blue Eye Control is still one of the top meta decks, but
Yeah, I have not paid attention to Historic since they started errata-ing cards.
yeah. I mean, Alchemy kind of.
I gotta be honest, I don't actually mind the, like, alchemy specific cards, the ones that are, like, completely new to the game and through Arena. I don't actually mind those very much. What I don't like is when they're taking real cards that do things that players know what they do and make them not that, but
Yeah.
with the same names. Like Dragon's Rage Chandler, if somebody plays, Historic a bunch, and they have their Dragon's Rage channel where they get Delirium, and they're used to having a 3/1 flyer that dies to like Orcish Bowmasters,
Yes,
or
yes.
Bowmasters doesn't trigger on ETB, right, or whatever
Which
it
I
says
think
now.
is
Like, I think all of that is nonsense because it creates this weird situation for a player trying to cross over where the cards just don't do what they know them to do. I don't like
so.
that.
What just happened here was I tried to bestow a Spring Art Nantuko onto a Grazer,
Which ate a Fatal Push.
yeah, which ate a Fatal Push, which still
Sure.
ended with the Spring Heart, still ended up with blockers. Unfortunately, they don't have reach.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that Tamio is going to start connecting now.
yeah. More importantly, the Psychic Frog might start
Oh,
connecting.
yeah, right.
But what do I know? So right now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different gate names. We have 5 more to go.
Yeah, that's. Yup.
Yeah, mazes and being 10 is like a very daunting task.
10's a lot.
In Historic, you have the advantage of having the 1 mana gates that have the Seek ability. And those give you like a lot more resilience against decks like Mill or decks that have run land destruction, where I can run 1 copy of each of these 5 colors, but add 5 more different named gates to my game plan.
Sure.
And that's what I was kind of scared of building this deck initially going into the Modern, that someone was just going to be running like kind of like a
You're going to get Archive trapped one time and
Yeah.
no longer be able to win the game.
basically. So my sideboard tech for this is I was running 3 Endurances on the sideboard
Sure.
to play against Mill, and I was running a Spaghetti Monster as well, just so I could guarantee that whenever I went to go search, I'd be able to get at least one of the different named gates.
Gotcha. Okay, so the Tamio is finally flipping because Frog drew a card, Ring drew a card, and we had Draw Step for turn. That's Alex is going to be seeing a lot of cards for the rest of this game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'm not doing anything to stop any of this
No.
from happening. Especially upticking that Tamio. These 1/1s are not doing anything.
Right. Which is unfortunate because I feel like that's your kind of secret alternate win condition.
Yeah, as the land fall off of the Spring Heart Nantukas
Yeah,
for sure.
just kill him with
Yeah.
bugs.
But we're getting to Titan mana,
Yeah.
which is very important because Titan is a huge enabler
Sure.
in this deck. Being able to ETB and grab 2 different named gates
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
kind of ridiculous.
So we're up to 6. We get to draw a card off of our summit. I doubt you have a 1-drop here, but like,
I just drew an amulet, I think.
well, this was during Alex's end.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there's no way I'm not running any 1-mana instances.
Right. Okay, there's a Spelunking too. So if you don't have the Titan, you do have the Spelunking, so you can at least go like Maze,
So yeah,
activate Maze.
we can cast this
Spelunking
amulet.
Maze kind of
This
a thing.
is very likely getting countered, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, we're drawing a
Just
card.
draw a card.
So it might not be.
I don't know if I'm super scared of the second amulet. Like, you already have the 1 down, so we presumably have 1 floating.
So you say that, but right now, right, we're at the point where I want to cast a Titan. I've played this Maze's End tapped, and then floated the colors on my mana
Yeah.
pool, and then now I can leave it untapped and use the other mana to cast the Titan, which can go grab me 2 gates, which gets me 4 mana, and draws me 2 cards,
Yes.
which can get out of hand very quick. But it looks like I'm not doing that. I don't know what I'm doing.
You're just activating the gate at basically a 1 cost reduction.
Yeah.
So now we get to float 1, have it untapped, play Spelunking, play the Maze's End again. And activate it again?
I mean, yeah, that's a line I can take here.
That's a lot.
floating-
That's 2 floating.
Yeah, 2 red mana floating right now.
Play the Spelunking. That just taps 1 land, basically. That leaves 2 there. Maze's End comes into play. Tap, float a mana, untap, then use the floating mana and the 2 left over to activate it again. I mean, that puts you, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? That puts you at 8 gates?
Yeah.
Like, you just win next turn if you have a way to make another land drop.
So we got a Fatal Push out of the hand because
Sure.
seeing how many lands we get to play this
I don't
turn.
think that matters.
So
Like, we're just
ETB,
using
draw a
the fatal push
card.
because we have cards in
I
hand.
can't imagine we're putting anything else into play besides. Oh no, just a different named gate.
Well, again, this is on the
Yep.
activation, right? Oh, no. Okay, you just had another one. This is
Yeah.
from the Spelunking?
Yeah, this is from the Splunking.
Okay.
So float a white or a black or whatever I
Yeah,
decided.
draw a
Leave it
card.
untapped. Draw a card.
Have you played a land for turn? You have, right?
The Maze's End was my first land for turn.
Yeah, okay. So we can't just Maze's End again. Oh, I remember that guy.
Hey, Great Bigger Ram. I forgot to tell you that Great Bigger Ram is in this deck.
I drafted a bunch of that card back in Ravnica Allegiance. The gate deck was cool as hell.
Yeah, you guys aren't going to see me on camera for the rest of this night, but I will tell you that I did have a game where I bestowed a Springheart Antique on a Great Bigger Ram, and it was the best feeling ever.
How large was that Gatebreaker Ram?
I think all of them were 7/7s by the time I attacked for lethal, and I had
That's pretty good.
yeah, and I had like 4 of them or something like that when I attacked.
A good old clean 28 damage.
Yeah, with trample and vigilance seems good. Seems real good.
Easy. Tameo, good luck reducing this Gatebreaker Ram. So, okay. So we've got some things going on. Sultai, Alex drawing a bunch of cards. 2 more off the ring. We can rebuy a spell off the Tameo if we want to, or we can just try to tick it up and see if we can get to the ultimate. Though I don't know what the ultimate really accomplishes here.
Yeah, I mean, Alex is in a tough spot here because whenever you're in this control thing, even ulting the Tameo,
He's got to get back Fatal Push, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has to clear this Ram.
Yes, the Ram has to die or his Tameo goes away forever. But he acted as Tameo and draws half of his library.
Yeah.
And he was looking at more of these grindy pieces, and he's just staring at me going, mazes and pass, mazes and pass. I mean, obviously he can just kill me with the Psychic Frog, which is the big thing. So I think as long as I can win before he gets a turn to activate...
Shieldred.
Yes. Let me tell you about this card.
Shieldred.
This was not the first time I saw this card tonight.
Well, it has to
More
be. This
than
is round
half,
1, game 1.
More than half of my non-land spells draw me cards. It is extremely frustrating to play against. And may I point out that Guild Summit is not a May ability.
Excellent. Good.
That
Wonderful.
thing forces me to draw a card.
Love it. All right.
Yeah, so I run 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need
2 more.
2 more. Anything that gives us an extra land drop does it.
And Alex is tapped out, so I think he knows. He knows that.
Like, Force of Negation exists, but yes. We're just discarding a bunch to the frog.
Yeah, I think we're trying to beat me to death.
Yeah, well, we also theoretically need to give it flying, right? Or did we do that already?
I don't remember. I think so. I see a bunch of cards in exile, which
Okay.
I'm assuming means this thing has flying.
Yeah. I mean, you have a bunch of bugs, so, like, there's no reason not to block if he doesn't give it flying. Untap all these retrofoil guild gates.
They're so pretty.
They are. There's a Primeval Titan. How much mana do we have?
A lot. Enough to cast a Primeval Titan.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2 left. That's fine.
Yeah, I think
If we
I'm...
leave 2 up, then we can also just... Yeah, so that counts. If this resolves, the game's over.
No, for sure this game's over. I don't even think I played a land for turn yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think
so
I
if
slammed
this
this
spell
Titan.
resolves, the game
Yeah.
is over. Yeah. If it didn't resolve, like, you can still Maze's End and go find 1 more gate.
Yes. I mean, right now I can grab Gate Mazes and period and just one
Yeah.
spot, yeah.
No, I was trying to figure out if it doesn't, right? Like I said, if you have anything that puts an extra land into play, the game is over.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But,
And right now I have, I'm about to float 4 mana.
sure.
So I just grabbed 2 gates here. I guess I'm just guaranteeing the redundancy at this point. I think it might be, I might have miscounted or done some, or maybe I'm just freaking out that I'm about to win with gates in Modern. One of those 2 things is happening. Yeah, I definitely should have grabbed a gate and a Maze's End.
Yeah,
That
it's
way-
okay. You have the
yeah.
Maze's End in hand. You haven't played a land yet.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. You have 4 Primeval Titans, I guess. Oh, sacrifice 3 bugs.
All my bugs are dead.
They're
They're back.
They're like cockroaches.
I'm going So, how are you playing it?
I have not played away any effects. I cast a Titan and then.
So is it? Which replacement effect are you using?
I'll trigger my ambulance.
Okay, I'm gonna sage you it while it's tapped.
Okay.
It cannot be activated.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, besieging with the untapped trigger on the stack seems good.
Yeah.
That is a thing that just happened.
Yeah, I suppose you should have let it come to play untapped, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Also, if I would have done what I said earlier and grabbed a Maze's End off of the Titan, none of this would be happening.
That's
right
also
now.
true.
Maybe I'm just incredibly confident with my resiliency that my deck can behold.
There's a shield druid, and you're at 8.
I think Maze's End notably not a gate
True.
itself, so that does not draw me a card. I think we're probably just trying to cast an Explorer or something here.
Oh.
Well, the second Primeval Titan, I think, wins this game.
Yeah, there's the Mace's End. You found it. You found 2 of them this time.
I'm over it. We're doing this thing. Trigger, untap, float.
Untap, float 2,
Float 2,
untap,
tap, float the other
yeah.
one, use the 3 to return the Maze's End back to the hand.
Yep.
Man, this deck sure doesn't win fast.
No, that's okay. It's winning.
So, just to, no one that hasn't played Historic, and seeing this deck play in Modern how it is right now, yeah, we want to get a game on
You
camera.
did
Let's go.
it!
So,
Gates won!
Gates did win. Gates won on camera. Like I said before this event, before I told you that I was building this deck and got all the cards together, I was like, all I want to do is win a game on camera. And I did it on my very first game.
Time.
Yeah. I went to have a complete losing record for the rest of the night. But
you got that one.
we got that one. No, so for people who haven't really played with Historic on Arena that much or don't really know the meta and seeing the deck play how it is playing right now and going, how is this deck even close to like a top tier deck in Historic?
It's not.
That's not true. It is, and the only reason why is because of one specific land. It's Baldur's Gate, which isn't legal in Modern, because it's obviously from a commander set. But Baldur's Gate is a Cabal Coffers, but for gates.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and so being able to cast a Primeval Titan on a way earlier turn than you probably should be, and just being able to go Titan, go grab another Baldur's Gate and something else, and then float more mana, cast another Titan, do more shenanigans, especially if you have a Gilgate somewhere and now you're drawing like a million cards, you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. So the deck kind of turns into like this grindy combo deck, or this grindy value deck, I should say. And that's why that deck is one of the best decks in the format. Is specifically because I'm playing Cabal Coffers but for gates is what's happening.
Big mana is big.
And also, of course, I get 5 extra gates to my name, which are real good.
Nentuku. So... Oh, no Nentuku. I was gonna say, do you chump the frog just to deny him a card? And the answer is it doesn't matter because Fatal Push.
The answer is it never mattered. Yeah, so like I said last game, not to spoil anything, this is what's happening. This is the thing I didn't want to spoil. This frog coming down as early as it has, and is already pumping out values to deal damage to me.
Yeah, this seems way better than that Tameo looked last game.
Yeah. He's not sitting around doing nothing this game.
No, he's killing
which
you.
means I'm not going to do great. Because I have to assemble 10 different named lands onto the battlefield.
And he has to punch you with this frog like 4 times.
If that, baby. But I might get to see... I'm pretty sure this game is the one where we get to see my... It's in my hand, I saw it.
Okay.
One of my all-time favorite spells to cast against anyone.
It's right there.
It's right there. It's right there. I'm looking at it, and I'm salivating at this mouse. I'm hoping he plays like a Tamio or something.
Yeah. Only to get a 1-for-1 because that frog's gonna be too big.
And that was a big thing that happened this game. Was I was like trying to race him on gates faster than he could grow the frog.
No.
It was just a losing battle for sure.
No. You gotta push that frog. It ain't dying to lightning bolt ever.
Yeah, so you can see already, Alex is just
4 toughness.
burning through my life total, and I cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, that Psychic Frog has 4 toughness already. Yeesh. Goodbye, Amulet.
This is dead. Game 2. Oh, yeah, it's dead. Trigger on the stack.
I'm going to lose one for blue casting Growth Spiral.
That is a very pretty growth spiral.
Yeah, the foiling on them are interesting.
And I'll put this Saga into play. Tap it.
Alright, Haywire Might exiles the Amulet. You got to put a Saga into play. You have 4 mana, 3 of them are gates. Right?
Yes, 3 of them are gates. They're in Portal is a gate.
Okay.
ETB, choose a basic
Choose a
land.
color.
No, choose a basic land type,
Oh.
and then you it taps for the color of that basic land type, and then when you do, it deals 1 damage to you.
Okay. Is it that type now?
I think so.
Like, if your opponent played Choke, would that thing be stuck?
I'm not sure. It's from Dominaria Remastered, and I know they or not Dominaria.
United.
Dominaria United, and I know they super cared about basic land types. That's
Yeah. That set was... brought us such hits as Leyline Binding.
Yes.
Everyone's favorite. Yeah, Dom United has Leyline Binding and Shieldred, and then some other draftable cards, I guess.
Yeah, so Thran Portal is battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer other lands. As Thran Portal enters the battlefield, choose a basic land type. Thran Portal is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Mana abilities of Thran Portal cost an additional 1 life to activate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Just
just
the weirdest City of Brass.
yeah, it's definitely good in the gate deck to mana fix early game, and being able to be one of the few untapped gates is also a neat plus.
Yeah.
I think the only gate that enters untapped, now that I'm thinking about it. No, Boulder's Gate enters untapped.
It's not a real card.
True. True.
Alright, that's a map? That's
Yes,
a map.
that's a map. My $50 maps.
So it looks like a Guild Summit got counterspelled a while back.
Oh, for sure. He saw the power of it last game and
Yeah.
could not allow it to exist on his plane of existence.
Yeah, that all makes sense.
I like the original.
Also, again, like, he's just winning with this frog. He just needs to keep you on a slow enough pace that the frog closes out the game, right?
Yeah, and also with this Thran Portal constantly hitting me for damage whenever I want to tap it for mana is not helping my case. Tap for colorless, Amulet gets countered. You know, I'm going a big control. You know, I knew this is something that could occur.
Yep. Yep.
Looks like a Selesnya Guild Gate.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it doesn't matter, right? You need green, and then you need, like, red for the
Yeah.
Gates of Blaze.
I believe I'm running Cosine to Memory in the sideboard,
Okay.
but I mean, I'm a 5-color deck, and I don't have to be greedy because I can tutor any land
You
out
have
of my...
black? Like, I mean, I know you have the gates that make black, but do you have black cards?
I think I run a Dismember or 2.
Sure. That's a blue card. You can't trick me.
Dismember's a blue card?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. That thing says pay 4 life and 1 colorless.
That card says it's a fish's only removal spell.
So we're dead.
You're dying to a frog.
No, like we're already dead to this frog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the hand, play a tap Maze's End.
Do you want to Gates of Blaze for 4?
Stupid frog was like the worst who's gonna run out against this hand.
Yeah, it's not looking good for me.
Cast this card, I was just like,
Do it.
I believe it's
Do
5.
it. Cast the spell. It's 4. That you said yourself the Maze's End isn't a gate.
Oh, that's so true. That is a Maze's End. Maze's End. Gate of Blaze for 4.
Damage each creature ranks as the number of gates you control.
it's currently 4.
It's currently 4.
Resolves. Yeah.
Scoop it up. Scoop it up. We're done.
It's like, I will take no game actions. Your
Yeah.
spell resolves.
That really does put in that was the game that put in perspective for me how bad this deck was in this format. Was looking at that frog and going, I can't deal with this, and just losing to it.
Yeah, the frog solos.
It does.
I'm a big fan of that frog.
His 2 drops were way better than mine.
Okay.
He gets to cast a Psychic Frog. I get to cast an Explorer.
I was gonna say your 2-drop is your land coming into play tapped, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Besage you into Amulet.
Okay.
Notably not a strong gate start.
Like, if you're playing the Beseiju because you have other gates, then it's fine. It's a Titan.
That is a Titan.
There's a gate. Pass the turn.
Probably Grow Spiraling, I imagine.
If you had the Growth Spiral, you should probably... Okay. I did just done that main phase. Your opponent had a Surveil land that was tapped.
Yes.
So, like, if you do it main phase, then you're playing around Spell Pierce, Spell Snare, like, anything that he has just by untapping.
We also just missed a land drop off of the Grow Spiral.
Oh, we're dead.
It's not good.
How many lands are you playing? It's gotta be like 30, right?
A lot. The gates and then utility lands.
I'm rooting for 30.
Let's see. Let's pull up the deck list.
Alright, Amulet was dealt with again by... Oh man, Witherbloom Command this time.
Yeah, I've played against Alex a lot, and I know you and Billy talked about it last video that I'm constantly on camera with Billy playing against this deck specifically while I'm playing Titan.
It's very funny.
And Witherbloom Command has got to be my least favorite card to see getting cast. It just deals with so much of my stuff, and it's so frustrating. Here we go, Gate Titan. Follow me on Architect.
I don't use that site.
28. So
It's not
two,
30.
two
All right.
off. It would have been 30, but I cut cards to add more mainboard cards, aka 2 Haywire Mites and a Cultivator Colossus. Because this deck loses so hard to Blood Moon,
Okay,
so mainboard Haywire Mites are a necessity.
sure.
Also, I'm running 2 mainboard Passages as well.
Colossus is just your pet card.
I mean, the big thing too is like if you roll the dice, you just win with the Colossus,
Sometimes.
or just get a certain amount of value off of it as well. Which, by the way, Cultivated Colossus also says draw cards.
Yeah. Back to you and Shieldred.
Yeah,
Friends.
I mean, on in round 4 of this
Hey,
event,
look, another one.
Guess what?
yeah, Witherbloom Command is just absurd, and now he's doing the mode where he gets to return a land to his hand, which is that card is just so good against my deck. It's just frustrating to see get cast, especially when I can't do anything about it.
Well, you found your 3rd land.
I did.
You found your 4th
I
land.
found my 4th land.
Everything's great. Play this expedition map. And probably pop it here in a second to go find
Yeah, probably pop it in a
Maze's
second.
End.
It's gotta be. I mean, that's the only way for me to consistently hit land drops when I don't draw them, and it's also
Frog.
my win con. Uh-oh. Frog.
That's a disruptor flute in his hand.
He sure is gonna name Maze's End, I think. Good thing I'm running those 2 mainboard Haywire Mites.
Would you like to pay 5 mana to activate your Maze's End?
No, you can't. Disruptor Flute says no.
Thought it just made it cost more.
Yeah, the chosen spell costs 3 more to cast. If it's an
Oh.
activated ability, you can't do
Yeah,
it.
you're right. That's right.
Yeah, I think I asked the same question in the video. I'm like, hey, yeah, activated abilities of the source of the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. And paying 3 and
True.
returning to my hand is not a mana ability.
It sure isn't. If it said, like, make a mana and go find a gate, then it might be a mana ability.
It might be. You could argue it. I could call a judge
wrong.
about that.
I would tell you that depending on how it's worded, and it probably isn't a mana ability. The thing about mana abilities is they don't use the stack, and you sure can respond to this thing.
I live in a world where KCI is mana ability, but my maze isn't.
KCI is a mana ability. All it is doing is
know.
generating mana.
Yeah, whatever, man.
That's it. That's all it did. It's the other cards that did the weird stuff.
It's the other busted cards in the deck that made it work well.
So true.
Didn't they banned which card did they ban at KCI? Was it
KCI.
the KCI, the Clark Kent Ironwork or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mox Opal.
Oh, okay, Mox Opal, sure. Mox Opal probably needed to get banned.
It did.
Yeah. I don't think KCI was the reason it needed to get banned, but
Yeah, but like, let's be real. We're all okay that it's gone.
all right.
Naming?
Disruptor Flute, what would you like to name, Mr. Bryan? Oh, Mace's End. You don't say.
Darn, my win con.
Maybe maybe you could have talked him into naming the Urza Saga. That card's scary.
It's true. I wouldn't be able to make constructs anymore. Is that a main ability?
Making a construct. No.
Oh. What a messed up world we live in.
These abilities of lands, not even mana abilities.
I know. What happened to my
crazy.
Garfield given right for lands? I feel
Oh,
like,
you still get to play them every
I
turn.
feel like my land should be completely untouchable. I don't think you.
Oh.
I don't think you should
I have
get to do
bad news.
that. Oh no. The government comes for us all.
Strip
Taking
Mine was
my land away.
printed very, very early in Magic's history.
That was a Garfield special.
Garfield did not, at any point, give you the right to keep your lands, just to play them.
Are there cards from stopping you from playing lands at all? Like completely, like no bar, you cannot play lands anymore.
Nah, there were cards that punished you for it, like
Yeah.
Ankh of Mishra,
Ankh of Mishra.
shocks you every time you play a land.
Fastball also shocked you every single time you played an additional.
It only dealt one. And there was nothing okay with Fast Bond.
I think they should print that card in Modern.
Unban Fast Bond, you
Yes.
cowards.
I think they should. I think it would finally give him a reason to ban Titan. The Gates of Blaze gets counterspelled. This is
Crazy.
tragic. And look, that was a Gates of
So
Blaze for
crazy.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
4. Once again, trying to cast a Gates of Blaze for 4.
See? So the choice was
Counterspell
discard
or discard
3
your
cards,
hands. Yeah.
or discard Counterspell.
I think the Counterspell was a better trade-off there.
Goodbye.
Yeah, so my mana base
number
becomes
2.
very terrible whenever I don't have amulets and Aura Splunking out.
Wait, your mana base purely of comes into play tapped lands is worse?
Yes.
Crazy.
They tap for 2 colors.
It's true. That's a neat looking Life from the Loom. That's a secret layer, I think.
Yes.
I think he also has the retro one. I think he's got a couple different Life from the Looms in this deck, which is cool. I like them. I also like that card.
Yeah, I think I talked to Alex about this specifically. What I appreciated the most about his deck is the ability to Life from the Loan back Beseiju.
Yeah.
And I was talking about it reminded me of the old Ren and 6 loops back whenever like 4 color was like one of the more popular decks.
Yeah.
And you could just kind of like loop the Beseiju and like deal with Hammer Time and Titan, which were the other 2 most popular decks at the time, and just be able to go, I'm just going to make sure that you never have anything for the rest of the game, which kind of felt really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Life from Loam almost recreates that, but a bit better because of Psychic Frog being in the format.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's just cards you get to discard.
Yes.
Like, so far this turn, he went for Draw Step and dredged a Loam instead. Cast the Loam to put 3 lands in his hand. Discarded those lands to the Psychic Frog. Then hit with the Psychic Frog to re-dredge the Life from the Loam.
Yes. Nah, it feels like I've told him multiple times how much I appreciate how his deck works because I know me and you've had this conversation a lot how I feel about control decks without win cons and kind of
Yeah.
like sitting there and dirtling and making you feel like you almost have to go to time.
So,
With
not
his-
a fan of Gilmore's Isochron Scepter.
No. Even when I feel like I can't win the game, I
You
feel
feel
like
like
I
you need
have
to
to play
play.
it out.
That is a you thing, my friend.
But to be fair, you watch for anyone who watched the playtest video whenever we were doing it, I mean, there was definitely lines where not giving up gave me a win, being able to turn the Shifting Woodland into the Dryad to kill with the Valakuts.
Yep. Or, if you'd done that when me and Billy pointed out that you could have been doing that.
Yeah, for sure. No. And one thing it took me forever to realize with that deck as well, while we're on the topic of it, is that I didn't realize the Shifting Woodland could pay for itself for the longest time.
Oh, yeah, it sure can.
And I don't need an untapped Dryad to make the thing work.
Correct.
So a lot of the times I'd be like, I don't have enough mana to do what I want to do because I need to, leave this thing untapped, which was
Gotcha.
never true. But yeah, the more I read Shifting Woodlands, the more decks I see coming out with like these busted Golgari Reanimator decks that are running Shifting Woodlands is just absurd. Like, being able to turn your Shifting Woodland into a Archon of Cruelty or Emrakul or any of those is just really good.
Yeah, Shifting Woodwind is a cool card. I don't know if you follow him, but one of the prolific Titan players, streamer Canister, was playing a build with Aftermath Analyst and Shifting Woodwind, where you literally go infinite, because you turn the Shifting Woodwind into the Aftermath Analyst, and then sacrifice it, which brings back the Shifting Woodwind.
Oh. That's pretty neat. Yeah, I mean,
It was a cool build.
I was having a conversation with someone here at the card shop about how Titan now has like infinite combos it can do. I think it was Billy actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of different routes you can
Yeah,
go.
for infinite with Titan, and I have to agree a little bit that it's kind of absurd that a really powerful combo deck that already exists in the format now having the ability to go infinite with like 3 cards now with this combo that you're telling me now, is just kind of like, it makes the deck really good and very threatening to play against. And the unfortunate part of that is more people are running things to stop me from doing it, especially at the card shop.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, being able to deal with the amulet has always been, like, the crux of
Yes.
how good you are versus Titan, right?
Yes.
So, like, either you can or you can't kill the amulet. If you can, you're probably in a fine spot. It doesn't matter what version of what combo they're on. None of
Yes.
it works without the amulet.
Yes. And that's why, I know I talked to you about 6 being kind of like that on the fence card where I don't know if it's really good or not. Whenever you're dealing with people removing the amulets, like you said, a good player playing as Titan knows to deal with the amulet and they'll be fine. With 6, that's not true anymore because you can't just deal with the amulet. Of course, outside of like prismatic endings.
Yeah.
But,
Or Haywire might.
yeah, or Haywire might. But you can't, the other like, Witherbloom command and the,
Anything that says destroy.
anything that says destroy, I can
Wrath
just get
of the Skies.
I can just get those amulets back, which makes the card feel good until you start playing it, and then it feels bad because you do have to discard a land, which is usually the bounce land that you need to make the amulet work in the first place.
So, we haven't really kind of bridged this game, but somehow you have 16 life and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different gates plus 2 mazes end.
Yeah,
and
so-
have an active One Ring.
Yeah, I've been paying attention. The One Ring is what is keeping me at the high life total because I played a One Ring which stopped the frog attack.
Yeah.
And then I think I had a turn where I had some sort of blocker, or something of the nature to. I think I actually took the hit from that. That's why I think I took the 4 hit. Is why I'm at 16.
Okay. I mean, realistically, he needs to exile cards, which I'm sure, yeah, he has a bunch of. It's just about, like, this Life from the Loam is both fueling the cards to exile to Frog and getting back lands to discard.
Yeah. So, Alex's deck, one of his lines he can take is he can cast a 6, which allows him to loop One Rings to give himself protection for until you can get rid of the 6 or exile the One Rings. And something he was struggling with this game is that he could have done that line multiple turns ago. We talked about it after the game, but he said it doesn't do anything against the deck. There's no reason he should have been doing it.
Sure.
So he was trying to figure out other lines on how to beat me this game, and then I think he was just overthinking a little bit on how to kill me.
I mean, it makes sense, though.
Yes.
Like, the ring doesn't actually stop you from doing any of the things that you're doing. That said,
Yeah, I'll block with a bug.
Okay. 4 damage. I'm gonna pitch these 2.
Yikes.
Murdered and Misty.
Oh, block a Tidebinder with a bug. Okay. that
Yeah,
makes
and this
more sense.
Tidebinder isn't naming anything relevant anymore. It was naming the Urza Saga forever
Sure.
ago that tried to make the construct.
Gotcha. Right, because the flute is on the maze's end.
Yes. And so right now we're looking for a way to get rid of
Haywire
this maze.
Might waiting room.
Yes.
Or Beseiju, I suppose.
One of them.
There's a Saga. There's a Beseiju.
Yes.
We did it.
The excitement is apparent in the way that I'm handling my cards, seeing the Sage of it. Like, I can play the game again.
Yeah. Also, it only costs 1 to
Yeah,
channel.
with the Azusa.
There's a trigger on the stack. There's 2 triggers on the stack.
I'll respond to the thing that makes it mana.
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and say it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
It's gone. It's dead, Jim. We don't get to float mana.
I think we feel the fine. Yeah, I have the Forest in hand, I believe.
Sure, and one in play.
One in play. I believe I only run 2 Forests.
Yeah, okay. Enough to not die to Blood Moon, but
Yes.
not a bunch. That makes sense.
I also only own 2 Oil Slick Forests.
Oh, and that's naturally the cutoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I own more, I might run 3.
So no lie, I played a Legacy tournament a long time ago, where I found a mono blue tempo deck that I thought was really neat. But there was an issue, and that was that whoever had built the deck initially was just playing basic islands and no brainstorms. And that, in my brain, just can't be correct. We're playing Legacy, we're playing Fetchlands and Brainstorms. The end. That's what we all came here to do.
Yes.
So I had to figure out how many Fetchlands I wanted to play. So I counted how many foil unhinged islands I had, and then supplemented the rest with Fetchlands.
No, that's what's up. Did it work out for you?
Yeah. I punted my the last round of the SCG Invitational. I was playing for cash, and I punted the round because I paid 2 mana to cast my days instead of just bouncing a land back to my hand. And then the stack got gigantic, and I wound up losing because I paid 2 mana when I shouldn't have.
Yeah, one of those things where like if you would have known the result of the stack, or
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The
okay.
answer is always just bounce a
the
land.
land. Yeah.
There's like I had 6 lands in play or something. There's no reason at all to to pay 2. Just
Okay.
bounce the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brain was doing the opposite of that. Why would I bounce a land? I have 6 lands in play. I can just pay for that. No. That card says return a land.
I mean, that's why it's like a legacy staple, right?
Yes.
It's that ability specifically.
But yeah, I punted the crap out of the last match of the day and didn't cash because of it. And it is what it is. But the deck was cool.
We're casting Primeval Titan.
I see that.
Y'all guys talked about it, I think last Modern video that y'all guys posted, how I'm a great combo player and I'm well at explaining my lines to the person I'm talking to, but my representation of my board state is
Oh, it's
incredibly
hideous.
sloppy.
Yeah, it's awful.
I have to agree with you. I don't even know what's going on, and I'm watching the video with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I do my best to try to keep up with it,
Yeah.
but boy, do I get lost sometimes.
Yeah, I like things in a very particular order.
And that is thrown in the air and see where it lands.
More like it makes sense to me in that very moment. If 5 seconds in the future me were to try to decipher what was going on after that point, though,
We're off
it's
it.
over. I can't. I don't know what I was doing. Why would I? That's like 5 seconds after me's problem.
That was past me's
Yeah.
deal. Whatever. Yeah, me and past me have some arguments when I'm doing some of these arena videos.
Oh, you're telling me. Seeing, I know I was tearing my heart out whenever I was watching the last Modern video, and y'all guys were commentating over one of the games I was playing. I think it was against Alex, actually. And me and him were just making, like, the goofiest plays ever. And I was like, and I was looking at my hand, and I was looking at the board state, and I'm like, why am I could have just won here, or like I could have done this, and I'm like, what am I doing? He's like, you're better than this. You've been playing this deck for how long?
You know, like, that's the thing maybe nobody really talks about because it's hard to quantify. But when you're playing the game versus when you're just kind of like theory crafting or thinking about the game, it's just not the same, right? Oh yeah, that frog attacked for lethal. That frog killed you.
I was waiting on that to happen the entire time. I think what ended up inevitably losing me that game was just the fact that I just couldn't get the lands out that I wanted and needed at the time.
The Disruptor Flute, in fact, disrupted you.
For real. All right, Living End.
Living End versus Dimir Frogtide.
Frogtide.
I am a big fan of the Dimir Frogtide deck.
Me and you both.
I really like Is It Murktide already.
Yes.
And I think that Psychic Frog is one of the coolest cards that's been printed in the last very long time.
Especially in the archetype that it wants to be in.
Right.
You know, like those grindy value archetypes where, like, this is, like, Murktide is just straight up a mid-range pile.
Yeah.
Right? So we're just trying to slam a big threat and protect it forever until you're dead. And Psychic Frog fits that archetype perfectly.
It does. And then it just, like, kind of accidentally does all of the things that the deck wants to do anyway.
Yeah, it
like
draws you a card on hit.
Card advantage. It's an outlet for you to fill up your graveyard so that you can cast the Murktide. It
Yes.
triggers the Murktide while it's in play to
Yes.
grow at instant speed.
Yes. And I think I talked to you about it a couple days ago, but whenever I was playing Frogtide, I was finding myself on a turn where I had a Psychic Frog and a Murktide out, and I went to attack my opponent, declared no blockers, and I just started discarding
Yeah,
cantrips.
absolutely.
And I was like, after about discarding like my second expressive iteration in a row, I was like, what am I doing? And then I was like, and I looked at my opponent's life total and looked at my board state, and I was like, no, I'm killing this guy. Why do I feel bad about this? You're dead. Die. Like,
Yeah, it turns out killing your opponent is in fact better than drawing extra cards.
yes, for sure.
That's debatable, mind you.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, something card draw is the most powerful mechanic in Magic. Something.
no, killing your opponent.
So Living End fell off the face of the earth. I think
It put up some results at the Pro Tour, and it's
It
had
did,
like
it
a
did.
little bit of a
So
steady
that-
following since.
Violent Outburst got banned,
Yes.
and I know it kind of like ghosted off the face of the planet for a little
did.
bit. And I think it's
all the Cascade decks.
Yes, and I think it was because a lot of Living End players were like salting off because they were upset that they got hit by the best deck in the format at the time. Like they died for a crime they didn't commit. Which is whatever. You can have that opinion if you want, but people didn't realize this Living End is still a really good deck. Like it doesn't. You don't need the Violent Outburst for this deck to be like a top tier deck.
Yeah, so the biggest difference is very simply Living End could beat all Wrath of God decks by virtue of Violent Outburst. End of your turn, put all these things into play, untap, kill you.
Yes.
And it can no longer do that, which means it has to pass the turn, which means you get a turn to come up with your Supreme Verdict, Wrath of the Skies, Day of Judgment, whatever variant you might have.
Yes. And as fair as that is, like, okay, we force you to play fair Magic the Gathering, but also
Fair.
yeah. Living End still being Living End,
Yeah.
like even if you do get Wrath, as long as it's not a mass exile effect, which is we don't really see in Modern ever.
Correct. Yeah, they all cost like 6 mana.
yeah.
They're all unplayable.
You can just do it again.
Yes.
And sometimes for more value than the first time you did it.
Yes.
And it kind of brings back to what Living End, like,
Hey, look, we've established a clock.
yeah. Yeah, there's a Murktide there. But and Tamio being legal, and it's just Demir Murktide is just if you want to play
There's the
mid-range in
Shardless.
Modern on a competitive level, of course there's other mid-range decks that do exist, but on the high like tier 0 of the Modern, where we're trying to go to the Pro Tour or do whatever, this is just the best version of this deck that you can be playing.
Yeah.
You're running the Tamios, you're running the Psychic Frogs, you're running the Murktides.
Yeah.
I keep saying Expressive Iteration. I'm running a Jessica, or not a Jessica, the blue, black, red, whatever that color combination is called.
Blue, black, red, Grixis.
Yeah, I was running Grixis Murktide for a little bit, and then I swapped over to the Demir list, but I keep saying Expressive Iteration. Ignore me. That's not a card. Get that out of my brain. That's not a card that's in this list. But, yeah, just having, like, all of the good cantrips, all of the good mid-range creatures, and then, with Tamio being one of those value pieces, is just, like, another thing you get to protect. And, like, whenever that thing ults, especially in this deck, you just win.
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to win.
So, Gabe making kind of a cool play here. He's going to fix this in a second. He put the Shardless Agent back in his hand. It'll go on top of his deck. Yeah, okay. But, so what happened here, Billy, knows what he's playing against, knows what he's doing, is a very competent player, and played the Murktide with a fetch land open, and had the Spell Pierce for the Shardless Agent in the Living End. After the Spell Pierce resolved, what Gabe got to do, and this is a really cool play that kind of Living End has done before, he pitch cast a Subtlety and put his own Shardless Agent back on top of his deck to make sure he had another Cascader for next turn.
No, that's really good.
And that's a really cool sequence that Living End players have access to. To an extent, Rhinos players had access to as well. They just tended to care less. Living End is more all in.
Didn't matter. Second Spells Pierce.
It's not even the second one. It's the same one. Tamio picked it up.
And then, yeah, we're scooping it because we had the third Living End in
super
hand.
Dead. Well, also that we're dead on board to the Murktide
yes.
region.
Okay, that hand has 3 Shardless Agents in it.
Okay.
I think I saw that right. Oh, we
It's,
mulliganed
it's
it.
on top of the deck, so I guess we're not keeping it.
I assume not.
Oh man, that means I missed my edit. I didn't see it.
It was 3
To be fair, Gabe is a very,
Yeah, he's just gonna shuffle a few times, pass, cut, done.
Yeah.
He's pretty quick about it, but yeah.
The hand does still have
Still, I missed it, Malachi. That's on me.
a fail. A fail on your personal bias.
cascade right off the top. But
Alright, Frogtide very convincingly winning that game one.
Yeah, and that, that was a perfect example of what I was talking about, where this is just one of the premier mid-range decks where, you know,
Yeah.
Murktide being one of the best creatures, even, Murktide was one of the best modern decks post, MH3.
There was a good year and a
pre-MH3.
half
Yeah.
where Murktide was the top
Yeah,
dog in the
so
format.
you just have all of these cards that can address the most relevant threats, which is something, I had to learn a lot whenever I was initially learning how to play mid-range, is that you're not countering every threat. You're countering the threat.
Right.
And then protecting and making sure that your big threat can get through.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just let it go and move
Yeah.
on with the game. All depends on the matchup, right?
Yes, of course. So, Billy holding up interactions doesn't care about anything that's going on besides the living.
Correct. Yeah.
It's the only thing that cannot resolve. So,
Yeah, everything else doesn't matter.
which to be fair, living in is a pretty straightforward, match. If it's
Yes.
not hard to understand that, hey,
Yeah, you
this
either
living
need
is
graveyard
bad.
hate to make sure that nothing comes back,
Yeah.
or just stop the card living end from resolving.
Yeah, and living in also being a board wipe is extremely relevant.
Correct. In this deck, thanks to Psychic Frog, slightly less relevant.
Yeah, I did that with that food list that I was talking to you about with the NT and the Psychic
Yeah.
Frog in it. I
Just discard a bunch of
discarded
stuff.
my entire hand in response to the living end and got my combo on the battlefield, and I was like, very cool.
Okay, so Gabe with a good start here. We have the Grief on turn 1. Always feels nice to know what's going on and what we have to play around.
We also have an endurance in the graveyard.
Yeah, I think we surveilled
Oh,
it. there
surveilled
with
it.
the
Okay,
hedge
there we
maze.
go. That's what I was missing.
Yeah, take the consign. I like that. So there's
So we got 2 lands,
So we got
and a Murktide,
2 lands and a
Consider.
cantrip, right? Like Island, end step, consider is very likely all that's going to happen here. Okay, Gabe has cycle. I like cycling. Yep. Draw a new card. There's basic island. I don't think we want the basic island. Yeah. We need to go find a white source here. So Lush Portico
yeah.
probably, or we got a hedge maze. I think we should have gotten Lush Portico there.
Yeah, because we're running Ardent Plea. Is that the name of the card?
Yeah, and he has one in hand even.
funnily enough, doesn't play
So we definitely should have grabbed White
I
Source.
think he should have grabbed a white source. Unless he has one rolled up. Maybe he has another fetch land in hand and we just didn't see it.
4 hard cast.
Possibly.
But yeah, I think
Kind of funny.
Lush Portico there would have been my get. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to draw that. Leaving it on top doesn't accomplish anything. That's 2 gone. Surveilled 1 away and pitched 1 to a grief.
Yeah, I think Gabe on this night was extremely frustrated because he had multiple games in a row where he had all 3 of his living ends in his hand at one point.
Gotcha. So we are playing 4 for what it's worth. Yeah, so no white source here, and there's the Ardent Plea sitting in his hand. That's a bit of a yikes.
I definitely can't cast any of these cards.
Yeah, and I think he just realized that he can't cast. Okay, so Jesus, that's another living end. Yeah,
Fucking almost cried. I thought I was
Yeah, he was definitely expressing his frustration here to me.
Yeah.
Later the night.
all right. So we're gonna go find now the Lush Portico, which again I think we should have grabbed a minute ago.
It's gonna be this. No, you played a I didn't play the island.
Okay, Temple Garden, that's fine too.
Sorry.
Whatever, a white source.
Okay, what's going on here? We got...
So he already played his land for turn. He played Island for turn.
yes.
So he's cycling the generous end to go find a
Yes.
forest.
And then I'm just more confused that Billy just threw out a swamp. So is it
Oh,
Billy's turn?
it's got to be Billy's turn because Gabriel had already played a land and was tapped out.
Okay, so we just played a swamp and passed.
Yeah. So now
Okay.
Temple
okay.
Garden.
I'm now
shock in
tracking.
a Temple Garden. And now if Billy has a counter spell, we're out of living ends and we have to play a fair game.
Which is very hard.
Yeah. For what it's worth, like Billy's had 2 draw steps and a consider. So like there are 3 unknown cards. but we know that none of what Billy had previously deals with. Here we go.
I mean, it's this living end or basically bust because there's no way that without playing fair Magic the Gathering are you beating.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's possible, but it's real hard. Remember, there's only one left in here, so this is just going to be... It's here somewhere. We do play all 4, I'm sure of that.
If it was an invert polarity, I think that would be funny.
So dumb.
There it is.
And there's the counter spell.
Put it back in his hand.
Oh, that's the
Sink into stupor.
yes, the flip land.
All right. Well, that's... Wow. Well, we found all 4 living ends.
Yeah, that's so. There's a list of living end that I like a lot, and if I were to ever play living end, it would be the list that I played. It has the 4-mana spell that
That's the enemy.
yeah, press the enemy.
It's so funny.
That card's awesome because that card accomplishes the same thing that you were talking about, where it's like you want to cast living ends on your opponent's turn so
Yeah.
that you can attack them on your turn.
Yeah.
And that card does exactly that.
Yeah, the problem is you do actually have to have the living end in hand, which, like, don't get me wrong. yeah, Gabe could have done that this game. But, like, most of the time, you know, yeah.
I mean,
Like,
especially
it just makes it harder, right? Like,
Yeah.
with the normal, traditional Cascade versions, all you need to do is draw one of your Cascade cards.
yes.
Okay? With the Press the Enemy, you need to draw the Press the Enemy and the Living End.
Well, the list that I'm talking about does run both. Like it does run the Shardless Agents and the
Yes.
Press the Enemies. And I think it's only running 2 Ardent Pleas.
Okay.
So it's running the 4 Shardless Agents, 2 Ardent Pleas, and then the Press the Advantages.
Here, just show them the deck, shuffle it. We're just on the, we're going to put a creature into play and beat down with these Exalted triggers, I guess. That's the plan.
Hopefully, there is a Murktide and a Tameo there though.
Yeah, that's
which
a
is-
problem.
Which is not good
No.
at all.
No, that Murktide is chunked. That's a 3-turn clock with that Murktide. Too many. Oh, nope, it is 6. Sorry, I only saw 2 pips there for a second. Yeah, we're in danger.
There's a second front. This game is over. Gabe has lost. It is so over, in the wise words of Gabe.
Hey, we found some lands.
Yeah, sure.
So for what it's
Shocking.
worth,
This
not
breeding pool?
finding the Temple Garden or Lush Portico the turn he cracked that Misty Rainforest might literally have cost him this game.
Which is probably true.
Yeah, like, because that's a turn earlier. Billy has less mana. I don't remember if he did something that turn.
I don't think he did. I think it was holding the counterspell, though. I remember
Maybe.
having 2 blue mana. I mean, we don't know.
But that's
Yeah.
also, that's less cards that he had seen at
Yes.
that point. Like, couldn't have cast the Sink into Stupor because that's 3.
Is that a living end in our hand? Yeah, I got this.
Yeah, we know that's there.
We are...
Block the frog. Get discarded on.
Shoot this spell snare to him.
Yep.
Yeah, just casually, discarding.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
fine.
That
Oh, man.
Orcish Bowmaster.
Kaboom. Yikes. Yeah, that was tough. To be fair, that's a matchup that I feel like Dimir Murktide is likely to win.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's super. Like with mid range, your challenge is identifying what your greatest threat is, the one that you have to worry about. And in Living End, it is very apparent what that threat is.
Yeah, there's only
So,
one thing you have to
yeah.
deal with.
And so being able to, cantrip into finding that interaction for that one specific spell
Right.
is kind of easy.
All right. Moving on to round 3. Chris Everett on an Eldrazi build against Billy, still on this Dimir Murktide list. So let's see. I'm not sure what flavor of Eldrazi Chris is on, whether it's, the more aggressive version, the Trinus Fury Staxy version, or the, more traditional mono green big mana version. All I know is there's a Devourer of Destinies. So we're going to look at some cards and figure out how we want to play out this game.
So in the beginning of your first AP, look at the top 4 cards you library and put one of those cards back on top and then exile the rest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
So basically, it's a pregame action to reveal
Yes.
the Devour. So that's why we have it face up on the mat here while it's Billy's turn. And then when we come to our turn for Chris, we'll go ahead and trigger it during the upkeep.
So the big value with this card, right, is you get that card selection.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And then you can then pitch it to an Ugin's Labyrinth. I believe is
Correct.
what most people are doing with
Yeah,
this card.
like in a perfect world, you either have or are trying to find the Ugin's Labyrinth off of the Devourer.
Yeah. It's a real good.
Thought not. Some kind of land, I think. Cavern of Souls? Yeah.
Yep.
Thought not, Cavern exiled. And it looks like we have an Eldrazi Temple, which might be the card that we left on top. Not quite Ugin's Labyrinth, but
The next best thing.
Yeah. Wrong way. We do not gain 2 life by playing a Shockland.
Psychic Frog.
Woo, frog. So, Cavern of Souls. I wonder what he's naming.
Eldrazi. No way.
Crazy.
That's insane. Is that a...
That is
a
an
Mimic?
Eldrazi Mimic. So we are on a more aggressively slanted build of Eldrazi here. I don't know if he's playing Linebreaker, but typically when you see a Mimic, you're going to see a Linebreaker following it up. That's the red and colorless one that has trample and gives plus X plus O to and haste to a creature equal to the number of Eldrazi you control.
Yeah, so...
Billy just going
Yeah.
in on
yeah,
this.
so we
Psychic
discarded a
Frog,
Swamp, a Counterspell, and a Preordained
which
to the
means we're going to
Psychic
play
Frog.
a Murktide Regent. We have 5 cards in our graveyard.
Yeah, a Murktide is coming,
Yeah.
and it is here.
Oh, just a frog.
That's a
Okay.
second frog.
That's less exciting, but still kind of good.
I mean, that's more, if Chris ever taps out, that's a attack, deal, draw 2 cards.
Yeah. Is that a unclaimed territory? I think it's an unclaimed
Yes.
territory. Okay. Kozilek's command. X equals 2. Presumably make 2 guys clear the bigger Psychic Frog. Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense to me. All we're worried about there is Spell Pierce specifically. A cute and kind of funny thing, if we wanted to, the Eldrazi Mimic could become a 0/1 until end of turn.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that. Is it a cast trigger or an ETB? And now I know it's an ETB.
It's an ETB, yeah.
Neat.
Technically, that trigger goes in the stack twice, so we could make it a 0/1 and then make it a 0/1 if we wanted to.
I think he should have done that. I think that's optimal gameplay.
Yep, discarding a land. Okay, 3
Exile
lands.
3 lands.
Yeah, I like this. Get a card back. We didn't want that fetch anyway. Flying Frog, boop boop, draw a card. One
Yeah.
thing I'll say, and I always appreciate this, when Billy is playing a deck that is a slower deck, like a deck that isn't likely to win the game particularly quickly,
Yes.
Billy plays quickly.
Yes, which is very appreciated for anyone who's not playing Control. All you Control players out there, be more considerate to your non-Control friends.
Or to your control friends, honestly.
Yeah, to
Control
be
mirrors
fair,
where both of you
yes.
take 3 minutes to play a land and say go, not good.
Yes, for sure.
Alright, so here's a Devourer off the back of the 2 spawn tokens and our lands. We get to exile the frog on cast. Yeah, we were trying to make it a 5/5 so we could attack with the Mimic, but a Fatal Push says no to that. There's the Murktide that I thought for sure we were setting up a couple turns ago, but
We have it now.
yeah, presumably we had to find it. But that's a 7/7. That's bigger than the dumb Eldrazi.
That's a 2-turn clock, which I don't... Does the Devour have reach?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's a 2-turn
No,
clock.
it devours destinies, not birds.
That's a dragon.
Well, it wouldn't be devouring the dragon.
That makes sense.
It's only a 5/5. There's the line breaker. So yeah, we are definitely on the more aggressively slanted Eldrazi. Notably, we can, give this guy +2 and get in. And now it's a trade with the Murktide, which there's no way Billy's going to take,
No.
right?
Again, you have to protect your relevant threat.
Yeah, but now we could just die from Billy's side.
Yes.
Like we were talking about, we have the 2-turn clock,
Yes,
which
no.
is true. But
Yes.
this is a lethal attack from Chris right now.
Yes.
So
I'm assuming that's the.
That's the full art Ugins Labyrinth,
yeah.
I think.
Okay. So it does exist. We've seen it.
Yeah, so... Wait.
We're casting another thing, which cannot be good for Billy.
Well, we almost have to cast another thing here. We're really... Oh, that's another hasty thing. That's a problem.
This might be the end for Billy.
Yeah, so I think what Billy was hoping was going to happen is we were going to cast some, like, derpy idiot so that we didn't have to care, and then we just kill the line breaker so that there's no buffs. Okay. Alright, I didn't see this. So, the line breaker gives plus X plus O, but does not give trample.
Yes.
So, we got to boop with the Bowmaster, not that I think that matters. The Reality Smasher has trample. The line breaker has trample.
So we're still...
So that's 8 power worth of trample. All we need to do is soak up one of it and chump block the Devourer.
Yes.
Assuming that the line breaker targeted the Devourer, which I believe it did. Block, block. Yep. This looks like take 7.
And that's 1 point of damage short of winning the game.
Boy, that Bowmaster. Jeez.
I thought that was 8 for some reason.
Yeah. And the Murktide closes out the game.
Yeah, Bowmaster,
Bowmaster saved the day there.
Mr. President, Billy there.
Yikes. So, alright. I wasn't thinking about Bowmaster going into that combat.
No,
Right?
I was not
Because
either.
Bowmaster, realistically, it doesn't do anything to our board. It doesn't, quote-unquote, matter.
It sure does generate 2 blockers, though.
Yeah,
And
so,
some
like,
speed.
if we think that Billy has, like, some random kill spell, right?
Yes.
Then I guess it makes sense to put the buff on the Devourer, because it's the least important creature. Like, the Line Breaker and the Reality Smasher just have trample already.
I don't know. So, like, I've been kind of conditioned to always give buff to my tramplers because I
Sure.
always know it's guaranteed damage. And I can see... But, to be honest, to put the buff on the trample thing, knowing the board state that was already there was only a Murktide, right?
Right, right.
Like, you should just buff the best thing always, because if it's going to get removed, it's going to get removed, period.
Yeah, but that's why you don't buff it. That's why you typically, if you're going to pump something, you pump the weakest thing, because now they have to choose between getting rid of the pump or getting rid of the card that they were scared of in the first place.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think we're supposed to target the Reality Smasher. Like, I think that one's the one I'm sure we're not supposed to target. So the question is are we supposed to target the Line Breaker itself or the Devourer of Destinies? The
Yeah.
Devourer of Destinies with the target becomes lethal by itself. So if all we have is one kill spell, then killing the Devourer doesn't stop the Reality Smasher and the Line Breaker from being lethal. If we have 2 kill spells, then,
So,
I mean, that sucks,
I mean-
but it is what it is.
To be fair, don't you just before combat kill the thing that gives the +2/+0?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Also, it's not +2/+0. In this case, it was +3/+0.
Okay.
Because it's equal to the number of Eldrazi you control.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you just kill that thing before combat is the answer, and then none of that really matters. Again,
Right.
maybe it's my bad Magic playing, because I'm a bad Magic the Gathering player, but I would always just give the power and the power boost to the thing with trample. You know?
Yeah, maybe. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think if there's a reason to have not targeted the Line Breaker with its own ability. And again, because like you said, if we were putting Billy on a removal spell, then he's very likely to use it before we go to combat, before the Line Breaker triggers, because we
Yes.
don't want that trigger to go on the stack.
Yes.
So, if that trigger doesn't go on the stack, then we still have to be able to deal with either the Smasher or the Devourer. I think ultimately we're supposed to target the Line Breaker with itself. I can't think of a reason to target the Devourer, because if we're playing around a removal spell, the removal spell would have been played pre-combat.
Yes.
Like, that's where I'm landing after trying to think my way through other permutations.
Yeah, and I've dealt with, similar BS. And of course, it's not BS. It's a really good play.
Right.
But on if your opponent's doing it, it's BS. Having that interaction happen to you one too many times makes you realize that they probably have something.
Right.
Just give it to the trample dude. Like if they do something, it's going to make it a little bit more awkward if they do have a flash blocker or something
Sure.
of that nature. Because I remember playing back in standard during the time of the Merfolk, the flash cutthroat.
Yeah.
The Merfolk. There we go. So just always giving the trample creature the buff was always the best idea because they always had a blocker, even if they didn't have a blocker on the board. So I've kind of been conditioned to do that. So my mindset would have just been, hey, this thing.
Just give the pump to the guy with trample.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I said, Orcish Bowmaster wasn't really on my mind going into that combat.
No. I mean,
But I guess the Reality Smasher resolved, so we can check Counterspell off of the list, right? There's no way there's a Counterspell because the Reality Smasher resolved.
yes.
We got to combat and got to target with the Line Breaker, which means there's no removal spell.
Yes.
And at that point, once you check off Counterspell and once you check off Removal Spell, the only thing left is Bowmaster, or he's just dead. And therefore, excuse me, you have to target the Line Breaker.
Yes.
Or I guess you can target the Reality Smasher, but I don't think you need to. I think you just target the Line Breaker and maximize the amount of damage that you're getting through.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably the optimal line there.
We were praising Billy for playing quickly. I think sometimes what happens when you play against somebody that plays quickly is you try to match their pace. And I think if we slow down just a hair to think through this whole process, because you and I just took, 5 minutes to
Yeah.
figure out the whys of how and why this play went wrong.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, it's definitely a skill you gotta learn to, realize when you have to speed up and realize when you have to, slow down.
Make sure you make the right decision.
Yes, and whenever you're at a point like that where this attack could be lethal, is
Yeah.
whenever you need to have that moment.
Just take
where
a
you're
minute.
okay, I need to slow down. I need to breathe. I need to
Make sure I
yes.
get in for lethal. Yeah.
How can I make sure with every possible redundancy I can think of right now, how
Yeah.
does this kill my opponent?
Right. And Chris, I know you watch these videos. This is not shaded towards you at all. I think that was a very, very uncommon thing for people to stop and think about
Yes.
because it looked like you had lethal, right?
Yeah,
so
especially
this is
attacking
not
with
exactly
trample creatures.
correct. Yeah, this is not meant to be insulting towards you. Just pointing out how important that 1 point of damage ultimately was.
Yeah, it decided the game.
Yeah. So
All right. So
in any
it
case,
looks
thanks
like
for watching, Chris. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
it looks like nothing gets to stay on this board state.
No, we had a Toxic Deluge that
Yes.
cleaned up some Eldrazi. We had a Subtlety, I think, that just put a Devourer back on top.
Yes. And I mean,
Yeah. And no targets, so the
Yeah.
Devourer wasn't even, picking anything off. And now we're not casting that Devourer.
that's unfortunate. Where's your wastes?
I see a Island.
Need to make sure you cannot cast that man. You cannot.
Island is wild out of the Eldrazi deck. What's the Island?
I don't know.
We now have a bunch of them. So if the first one mattered, maybe the rest of them do. What's the blue card? I gotta know.
Ubens and Binding?
Maybe. It might be some sideboard stuff, though.
Yeah.
Harbinger of Seas.
Yes.
That's
We're playing around the Harbinger by just having
Yes.
islands already.
yeah. If we play the island, we can make them think, oh, they want islands.
There you
I
go.
shouldn't be casting this Harbinger of Seas.
Play an island. That's right. Sink into island. Island?
Okay.
I mean, this looked like Chris was in a good position until
Yeah, he was.
this very moment.
Yeah. Turns out Blood Moon's good against the Eldrazi decks.
It's always been true.
Yeah.
Play an island.
Play an island. We've got a swamp, so we're vibing.
And there's a Murktide.
That's a large fella that makes this game stop being, a waiting room and start being a uh-oh.
Yeah. Murktide showing that I am no control deck. I'm the mid-range deck. We're ending this game now.
Yeah, that is a pretty real distinction, right?
Yeah.
Murktide's ability to close out games, whether it's the Izzet version, the Dimir version, whichever version, Like, the deck might play out like a control deck for the
Yeah.
first few turns of the game, but boy, does it tell you the game's going to end very quickly when it decides
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Chris
Wrap that up
getting
pretty
yeah,
quick.
Chris just getting beat by the Flood Moon there. Again, game one, that really, really minute decision that like most players wouldn't even think about. And game two looked good for Chris until the Flood Moon came down.
Yes.
I feel like this is probably.
So here we go, round 4, and we've got Mike Peditto on Elves, playing Elves.
Playing elves.
We've got Elves. The guy who complains relentlessly about Nadu combo playing a deck that wants to take 10 minutes to itself to combo off.
Yeah, I mean,
Love you, Mike.
it's been a while since I've seen elf combo like
Yes,
get
it has
played.
been a minute.
And I'm wondering, did Mike just pick it up because, or was there an upgrade from MH3 that?
I think he's missing goblins. Like, he's so sad that goblins got banned in Legacy that he needed a different tribe to latch onto.
All I'm saying is, Punning Engineer is looking like a good card.
Yeah, but it doesn't really see play yet. And it might. It might real
Yeah.
soon. Turns out Plague Engineered is really good against Ocelot Pride and really good against Nantuku.
Yes.
And both of those cards are really good in the format right now, so... We had a conversation, I think, last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, about how sideboard cards need to, like... the best sideboard cards can come in more than one matchup.
Yes. And
But sometimes a matchup is so prevalent that you need a card for just that.
yes. And whenever you're building your sideboard too, finding the cards that deal with multiple decks is like, in my opinion, kind of a rare occasion.
It's the
And
needle in the haystack.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
awesome. This card's cool because it answers 3 different decks in this format
Yeah.
right now. But a majority of the time, your sideboard is going to be built. Hey, this card is to deal with this deck.
Right.
You know, it just
Yeah.
so happens that
Like
dampening.
Harsh Mentor has
Yeah.
been coming in
Yeah.
explicitly for Nadu.
It
but
sure works
some-
against Yawgmoth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is fine there too. But Yawgmoth like just takes 4 to pick it off, right?
Yes.
That's the biggest
Yeah.
problem. Meanwhile, like
I was expecting last turn.
That's 8 damage. I mean, it's not bad, especially against a deck that cares about their life total. But
sure.
yeah,
But meanwhile, something like Harsh Mentor, it's excellent versus Nadu. But one of the other options that I've seen people use occasionally is Tunnel Ingus. And
Yes.
Tunnel Ingus is the little 2-mana idiot, 2-mana 2/1. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if it's not the first land this turn, Lightning Bolt that player.
yes.
And that's good against Nadu.
I mean, they die really quick. They,
They
can't
die
just sit around.
really
Yeah,
quick.
they
They're
need-
not. They can't even say no. If Nadu reveals a land, it comes into play.
Yes.
Period. Notably, that card's very, very, very good against Amulet Titan as well.
Yes.
So you have this card that you can bring in a couple different spots where it's gonna perform the job that it's meant to perform, and it's a good thing. That said, I'm not like advocating for Tunnel Ingus being like this breakout all-star card, but it's very funny and he's just a cute little guy.
Yeah. We're the 2 of threats here. Elf Bowmaster, Psychic Frog.
Counterspell.
Yeah, like not letting.
No, Mike is not
Yeah.
getting permanence. He's not allowed to have permanence. That's
and I'm
2
s-
priests shot down and a symbiote. Is that what I'm seeing? Or 3 priests? That's 3 priests.
priests.
That's yeah. Yup.
Discarding a spell pierce to pump one of the Froges,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
And consider to pump the other one.
Yeah, why not?
We got to make sure that these things attack through this Nettle Sentinel.
Yeah, for sure. Got the block on the Tameo, or no? We're flipping the Tameo. That's
Well,
what's
we're
happening.
flipping the Tamio because we drew twice off the frogs.
Yes. Okay.
Just more synergy that the frog gives
Yeah.
this deck, where you don't even have to be spending mana to crack clues or using your
So-
cantrips.
yeah, so
The
good.
frogs just do it for you.
Infinite card advantage is insane.
Hey, look, a large Murktide.
Hey, that clock we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that thing that ends the game in 2 turns, as if the frogs weren't going to try to do that by themselves.
Yeah, so now we can start double pumping our creatures here is by discarding cantrips or instants of sorceries of any nature into the graveyard to grow the frog, to exile with the frog to give flying, and then to pump the Murktide whenever the card leaves the graveyard.
Yeah.
Is leave or exiles out of the graveyard? Or is it just leave the graveyard?
Leaves, because when
Okay.
Tamio picks up a card,
Yes.
it triggers Murktide as well.
Yes.
So I want to give credit to Mike for something he just did visually that represents the board very well. When he used his Quirion Ranger, because it's a once per turn activation,
Yeah.
he turned it upside down. So like it wasn't tapped at the time. It is now because of Chord of Calling.
Yes.
But it wasn't tapped at the time, and it being upside down, or even now when he taps his other things, it'll be tapped backwards. It's just a good visual reminder that you have used a thing, and I really
Yes.
appreciate the way he is representing that on the board state. So, good job, Mike.
Is that 3 green mana?
Yeah, that's 3 green. He has a Heritage Druid
Yes.
with double Nettle Sentinel, so they're going to be untapping here and just going nuts.
Going burr. Hey, one of those 10-minute turns we were talking about, I think.
Probably. We are a little short on cards in hand, so we do need to find something here. We can activate the Wirewood Symbiote, and again, turning it upside down, which I appreciate. Bouncing the Ranger, super good, because now we get to activate the Ranger again as well. There's that. Untap this. I'm sorry. Yeah. Now we have access to 3 more mana. We're up to 7. Symbiotes are good, and they're going to keep letting us float mana because of the ability to bounce something, but we do need to find something else to do here, right? Right now we have a pile of mana. There's another Symbiote, untap. The Nettles we need to activate in order to... Yep.
Yeah, so I haven't played against Elf Combo in a really long time. I'm trying to understand. I remember how this works correctly.
Okay.
But isn't there's a way to draw cards, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Presumably, like, Elvish Visionary is
Okay.
just a simple one, but...
Yeah.
Was that another Chord? Was Chord the last card? If Chord is the last card, that's a very good last card.
I'm fairly certain you use both Wirewood.
So if we create our hoof here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Create hoof is a 5/5, right?
Yeah, Crater Hoof is a 5/5 by itself.
Yeah. So it's only 11. That barely gets past the Murktide.
Bounce the carried once.
And then on top of the 2 Orcish Bowmasters, and then the 2/2 Orc Army. So Crater Hoof just doesn't win the game
Yeah.
yet.
It's going to cut off 3 mana, I guess. You just need to have it pay off your hand. That's wait.
So Billy was questioning how many times Mike had activated various things, which again is why I appreciate his representation here. This was a new Quirion Dryad, or Quirion Ranger, Quirion something, because he had bounced it previously with the Wirewood Symbiote.
Yes.
So I think Billy might have missed that it was a new iteration of the
So
card. That
this-
that is a Chord of Calling.
That is a Court of Calling.
So we can chord for like any number. We have a million mana
Yeah.
floating.
I'm just wondering what we grab because
It's not Crater
It's
Hoof.
not Crater Hoof for
Not
sure.
Crater Hoof.
Yeah.
The only things that attack this turn are Hoof and a Nettle Sentinel.
That's a hoof, though, I think. I can't see because the blinding light of God is blocking.
2, 4, 6, 7 plus 7.
That is
That's
a that
not
is a-
enough.
No, it's definitely not. Maybe.
I mean, it's
seems-
a big chunk of damage, but it's it's
I mean,
7 plus 5 plus 9,
Nettles and
so 16, 21. All we have to do is block 2 of it. Literally just put an Orc Army and a Bowmaster in front. That's it. Because unless I'm... Maybe one of those symbiotes started the turn here?
no, we're seeing just the 2 and the Crater attack here. Mana's gone.
Am I wrong?
1, 2, 3.
Didn't we play one of those Sentinels this turn? Am I crazy?
I don't remember.
Yeah, okay.
There's been a lot of like bouncing and
Yeah, there's a lot of game actions.
I can get these frogs full charge.
It's very possible that one of those Wirewood symbiotes was already in play, though.
Alive. I can block 19 of 20.
So, like,
1,
even...
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Let's see here. They all have trample. So let's
Oh yeah, everything has trample. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 7, 14, 21, so 30. We have 30 power attacking.
yeah.
Which means I can leave something back in case of that.
Did I do math wrong there?
Yes. The Nettle Sentinels are 2/2s.
Yeah,
So
don't we
they're-
only have 6 creatures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we have 7 creatures. Yeah, so that makes sense. So 28. Or 30 damage. 30 trampling damage, which
Yeah,
is...
I mean, we do have enough to soak it up because we have this Murktide Regent.
no, we get to live, for
Yeah.
sure. It's just what do we do after?
Right, how do
Yeah.
we beat the resolved hoof that's still in play with the engine still there?
Down to 1.
One's not dead.
So I can't, Billy plays off camera with his hand, so I can't really tell how many cards he has in hand right now.
3-ish.
3? So,
We've got frogs.
yeah.
We get some draw steps.
I think I think math we didn't consider there was that Tamio had upticked on the turn previous, so all of that should have been
Minus
-1.
3,
Yeah.
Minus 3 total.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't know if that was factored in.
I
when
don't
the
know either
players
because
calculated
there was a lot
damage.
of damage that got traded around there.
How big was the?
Had 4
Murktide?
counters on it.
4, so 7, 8, 9, and we went to 1. So yeah, I think it was calculated then.
Okay, yeah. Tamio being able to do that again next turn is what.
It's way more powerful next turn than it was this turn.
Yes, yeah. So I think that this might have the ability to keep Billy in this game because the only thing that's going to have trample now is Crater Hoof.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless Peditto just goes off again next turn and plays another. If another Crater Hoof hits the battle,
It's certainly possible. Like we do have the ability to generate all the mana and everything. The bit is the Quirion and the symbiote can't bounce like the Crater Hoof or interact with the Crater Hoof in any way.
Yeah.
And we know that the 2 cards in hand are both forests.
that's right because the bouncing them back to his
Yes.
hand. Yes. Okay. Yes. So we'd either have to draw into.
Something obscene.
Yeah.
Like honestly, right now even the Sentinels don't untap. Like they don't untap per turn.
Yes.
So
you need to be able to cast a green spell on top of it, right?
yeah. So that was a big turn, and we got the hoof, and we got to like murder a Murktide, which we were talking about how quickly the Murktide closes out the game. It had to jump block.
Yeah. I mean, a hoof closes out faster.
Yeah. Oh, we're all in on this frog.
Which that's what I figured was going to happen.
We're not giving it flying. We're letting Mike block? Question mark? Nope, we're giving it
No,
flying.
we're giving it flying. I mean, there's no reason not to give
yeah.
this thing flying.
I was going to be shocked, but crazier things.
All right.
Okay. We have a card, we have blockers, we have an uptick Tamio. Nope. Don't you untap those nettles.
I have orders too.
Hey.
Tap down those
Hey.
nettles, Mike. Do it. Don't do this to us.
No. No.
Womp womp. I think it's going to happen. Unless Billy catches it, I think Mike is just way too focused on what he's doing on his turn.
Yeah. Untap, upkeep, draw, right?
Nope, there it goes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We're
Excellent.
good. Crisis averted.
Yeah.
All right.
Hooray!
Yippee.
It's so much better when it
don't-
plays out the way it's supposed
We
to.
don't have an egregious misplay happening.
I would like to have 2 extra attackers, each with 2 power, please.
1 power.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tamio.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much? So Mike casts a green spell here, max damage, right? So we have
If Mike
5.
casts a green spell, the game's over.
Yes,
Because the hoof is still a 4 power trampler,
yes.
and the frog can only be. Oh, I guess the frog can go up to 4 toughness. We have a card in hand,
Yes, so we can block a Crater Hoof, but then
and then we chump block with the orcs.
but we're at 1.
Yeah, that's fine. The hoof only has 4 power.
Oh, and the Tamio is upticked right now, so a lot of these
They're all
dorks
1/1s.
are our 1/1s.
None
yes,
of them do
okay.
anything.
Yeah, no, so this is real good.
Yep. Block, block, block. I think you had to discard that card, Billy. Unless I'm crazy.
Will you let the frog die?
I think.
Oh, no, they're 1/2s. They're 1/2s. You're right. I'm dumb.
Okay. What's happening?
Also, how did those Courier Mages get on top? Oh, we cast an Elfish Mystic. That's what happened.
Yeah.
We're gonna make 3 mana.
Hold up. The frog did have a counter on it. I would like to block an L Sentinel to kill one.
Hey, whoa. Oh, never mind. Hoof doesn't have trample.
It's-
Hoof has haste.
Yes,
it
and it
gives
gives trample. Okay. That's the part that we're missing there.
Yeah. We're just being dumb with the Crater Hoof, the big
All
dumb
right.
frog monster.
Yes. So
Okay, so Frog
yeah.
closes out the game.
Yes,
We get to
Frog
keep
closes
the
out
card in
game.
our hand. We don't have to discard it. The Frog gets to block a Nettle Sentinel instead of the Hoof because we
Yes.
don't need to soak up more than one.
I mean, Tamio just being like the secret, the background winner of that game.
Tamio is the reason we didn't die.
Yes. You know, you don't, unless you're like super paying attention to the board state, that can be something that's easily missed. Like, oh, your ability just made good blocks. It's like, well, also all those things did 1 less damage,
Yes.
so the blocks were way easier to make.
Way easier.
Yeah.
We only had to stop 27 instead of 30.
That 3 damage, man, he was at 1 life. It's
true.
You know, it could have been dead.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah, we could have had to block with Bowmasters or a Frog or something that we absolutely didn't want to block.
I mean, Billy also just sent it with that frog on that turn. It was just like, okay, I have to put a turn clock on this guy, and I'm going to die. So
Yeah.
it's just, we don't need our hand. We're not getting rid of any of this.
It's true.
If we lose, we lose.
Bowmaster on the Priest. Yeah, not allowed to have a Priest. Priest, huge upgrade for the Elves archetype in Modern. Also kill it on sight
When did Priest get printed?
in Modern Horizons 3.
Okay, so there was an upgrade in MH3.
There were 2. Wirewood Symbio also came from MH3.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why it's popped.
Yes.
That's okay.
There were 2 giant upgrades
Okay.
coming from MH3, both of which died to Orcish Bowmaster.
That's good. Silly Orcish Bowmaster.
Silly Bowman.
They should ban that card. Whatever, man.
Oh, right. It's good against
Yeah.
things, so they should
Yeah,
ban
they
it,
should
right?
ban it.
Ocelot Pride? Card's good. They should ban it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Amulet's-
Hey, players.
Amulet's good. They should ban it.
Stop crying that every card that's good should be banned. You're wrong.
Not every format needs to be standard. All right, this is a hyper-competitive format. There's supposed to be good cards in it.
Crazy. That's a crazy take, Malachi. Can't believe you said that.
Force of Will is too powerful in Legacy. I think we should get rid of that card. Whatever. You know what's funny though? What I find funny about Force of Will in Legacy is that it hilariously has the same effect as Mental Misstep did in Modern, where even if you're not really in that color, you're still running 4 of that card.
No, not Force of Will. You have to have blue cards to pitch.
Yeah, but like whenever you're playing...
Mental Misstep broke things.
Well, yeah, the being ability to pay
Goblins
2
was
life.
playing 4 main deck Mental Missteps.
Yes, that is more absurd than it was in Legacy. But the fact that
No, I'm talking in Legacy.
yeah,
Okay.
the thing with that I find funny about Force of Will though is a lot of people run Force of Will specifically in mind to counter Force of Will.
Oh, sure. The combo
Yeah.
decks play Force of Will so that they can
Yes.
protect their combos.
Yes,
And then the control decks play Force of Will because they have to.
yes, and because Force of Will is such a prevalent card in Legacy
Yeah.
for like control decks or even mid-range decks, for that fact, combo players and sometimes aggro players have to also run Force of Will to stop that from happening.
Sure.
That's just the shenanigans with free cards, though. You know, like free spells. That's pretty much
Yeah.
always going to happen.
It's so like when they printed Force of Negation into Modern, they did so like with the understanding and the design that it was not supposed to be Force of Will. You were
Yes.
not supposed to use it offensively.
Yes.
And then Violent Outburst became very popular, and it was like, oh no, people
Yes.
can use their Force of Negations offensively.
And out of all the bans that have happened in recent history that are kind of like, hey, Wizards, what the heck, or whatever, like, the Violent Outburst one, honestly, was like one of the...
It was fine.
The better explained ones.
fine.
Like, you know, at first it's like, why the heck are you banning Violent Outburst? That seems like a silly ban. And then they released the ban article, and you're like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a great explanation why that card needed to be banned.
Yeah.
It was an intentional design flaw that they had that they didn't realize the interaction with. And it's like, yeah, this was never meant to be an offensive, counter spell.
Which they said when they printed
Yes.
it in Modern Horizons 1.
Yes. And so, Violent Outburst getting banned makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Up the Beanstalk probably had to go.
I mean, yeah, that card was just so good.
We could cascade into Living End or Rhinos or Restore Balance or any of these other busted in half cards, but you know what's better? This stupid 2-mana enchantment.
I mean, I was most upset about the Beanstalk ban, and it was. I'm glad I didn't buy them before the ban,
Oh, I
but
still have them.
I was, that silly little timeless Lotus deck that I was playing.
Yeah.
Whenever I wanted to play with Up the Beanstalk so bad, and I never got to. Yeah, because as most people know at that point, that's one of Aspiring Spike's list, and whenever Up the Beanstalk came out, he made one last revision to Timeless Amulet and went, "This is the best version of this deck, period."
Yeah, this is
And
the
he's
best
like,
this deck's ever
until a
gonna
new
get.
set comes out or a new card breaks this deck again, this is the best version of this deck. It doesn't get any better than this. And
And then they banned up the
then they
Beanstalk.
banned Up the Beanstalk, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, but again, probably correct.
Absolutely correct. That thing was incredibly difficult to play against, especially in 4-color. Oh my goodness, that card was terrible to play against 4-color. Like, they didn't already have enough value as it was. They were like, "Yep, this is this 2-minute enchantment that
Can never have
we can
too
play
much value."
We can just play on curve and just grind out every game all the time."
All right. So Billy, not really much going on over there. And Endurance came down to shuffle his graveyard in, I think, make sure that a Murktide isn't.
Yes, the
Coming
thing
anywhere.
that kills you.
Yeah.
A lot of tanking going on. Whose turn is it right
We're
now?
on Mike's turn.
Okay, that explains why the tanking is taking so long. My bad. I didn't mean that, but I did. But obviously,
Presumably
a lot
that
to
means
think
he has
about.
options,
yes,
right?
a lot to think about. I think there's only one card in hand.
Yeah, but like if
I mean,
it's a Chord of Calling, we've also
yes.
flipped our Wirewood Symbiote, which means we're bouncing something or trying to figure out what we're doing. All right.
All right, we went to
End
end
step, Sauron's Ransom from Billy. Mike separates this into 2 piles. We get to turn Tameo into a ring bearer, I guess. Because that's an attack trigger, right?
Nope, we get to turn
Tameo.
Master.
Nah, Tameo, it's a ring trigger. Oh, he did turn Bowmaster. I thought it was an attack trigger. I would have just gone with Tameo, but I guess if our intent is to draw a bunch of cards, we're going to flip the Tameo and then we don't have a ring bearer anymore.
Yes, I think that's a good thought process there.
Yeah, but the Bowmaster's never going to want to attack into all these derpy elves.
Maybe not.
Second.
Maybe the bestow thing.
That was a pretty bad.
It's called bestow or ring bearer. MTG.
Alright. So, Billy, leading on a preordain, sees Shieldred's Edict and something else that he grabbed off camera real quick.
No, it's fine. The first thing of ring bearer is it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So
Yeah, a bunch of those derpy elves are 1/1s,
Aren't they?
aren't they?
I think I see. There's a 2/2, a 3/4, another 2/2.
A 1/1, a 1/1,
Are
and
the-
a 1/1,
What's the?
and then a 1/1.
are these 1/1s?
Yeah, they're tokens.
Okay, that's what I'm missing then. Okay, never mind. Disagree. Or I mean, disregard. Yeah, so whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card.
Yeah,
And
so
then-
for what it's worth, we did double cantrip, so we have this Tameo flip, so that's probably why we weren't trying to make it
Which
a
makes
ring bearer.
sense. Whenever ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that. So for the ring bearer, for that opponent's right, it's every single time it becomes ring bearer again, it goes to the next thing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then, so right now it's only on one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe the only way Billy has to do anything with the ring bearer is the Sauron's Ransoms.
Yeah.
And I think he only plays 1 or 2. So like the ring bearer isn't really there to get more steps, just a bonus if if it happens at all.
Yeah, sorry, listeners. I just have never really played with this mechanic before, and I was just so unfamiliar with how the ring bearer mechanic worked.
Yeah, there's very few cards that ultimately matter in the modern format, at least, regarding.
So, if you have a ring bearer on Orcish Bowmaster, it says it becomes legendary.
Yes.
If you play another Orcish Bowmaster, do you have to sack?
No.
Okay, cool.
So,
you have a legendary Orcish Bowmaster and then a non-legendary.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
yeah, the only time the legend rule is going to force you to sacrifice one of your
whenever you-
permanents is if you have 2 permanents with the same name that, are both
that
legendary,
they're both tempted by the ring.
which you can't do.
Yes, because you can only
yeah.
have one ring bearer.
Yeah,
What an
and
interesting mechanic.
it is kind of cool. Notably, you can't. So let's say you have a ring-bearing Orcish Bowmaster, and your opponent has a ring-bearing Orcish Bowmaster, and you steal their Orcish Bowmaster.
Yeah.
As soon as you steal it, it stops being a ring bearer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what checks? I know like the legend rules a state-based action.
Yep.
So it loses legendary as a state-based action, or how does?
It stops being a ring bearer as soon as you lose control of it.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand mechanically how that.
Presumably, so like state-based actions check in a predetermined order. Mm-hmm. So presumably that check happens first
before the
legend
rule.
check.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I do know that you're not going to lose anything if you do
Okay.
it, but like I don't know the exact intricacies of the why. Presumably, it's just the order in which the things are checked.
I think a hoof just got counterspelled.
That's a good thing to get counterspelled.
Yes.
F that guy. That guy deals so much damage.
That guy was lethal there.
Uh-huh. That guy's lethal 9 times out of 10 it gets cast.
Almost always. That thing is an absurd card.
It better be. It's an 8-mana spell.
Now you got me thinking about a Springheart Antico Titan deck that runs Crater.
Don't do that.
I know. We got me thinking about it.
Please stop. There's a Murktide.
I can Summoner's Pack for a Critter.
You can. That is a legal play. You're correct. Okay, spell. Looks like we've got a 6/6 or 7/7.
Not the max
One,
power
two, three,
Murktide.
4. Nope, we're going with 4.
I wonder why we want to keep the Pyramid. We run Snapcaster in this list, or
I don't know. Let's assume yes, we are.
yeah, because I feel like you just want to.
Well, we also have Tameo, right? Like we might want to pick that preordained back up.
There we go. That's true. I mean, we do.
And if we pick the preordained back up, it still grows the Murktide. So leaving a spell in our
Tameo
graveyard
is
makes
minus
sense.
10 or minus 12. Neither.
For the ult.
Yeah.
It's like 7 or 8 or something. It's way less than you think it should be. Is the actual answer?
Target creature spell power toughness or less.
I think it's 7. Because I think it's an odd number. I'm pretty sure you keep it.
Shoot, the backside of this card. TCG player, help me.
So a Stern Scolding got to pick off another War Caller question. I think it's called a War Caller. It's the one that makes the tokens. There's so many elves. They're all elvish something.
Yeah, Tameo is definitely a minus 7.
Yeah.
Starts at 2 though. I didn't know it started that low.
Yeah. Starts at 2, goes to 4 immediately. Because it's a +2, so it doesn't
Yes.
take that long to
Yes.
uptick.
I'd like to ask.
But,
I'm
alright.
pretty sure it's part of the cost. Yeah, but I just want to be sure. Judge.
Okay, so we have a judge call here just asking specifically
Cost to return the elf, right?
what constitutes the cost versus the effect on the Wirewood symbiote. And I would need to pull up this card real quick to answer the question in the moment. Otherwise, just reading the card is the answer is everything prior to the colon is the cost. Everything after the colon is the effect that happens. And this card is return an elf you control to its owner's hand, colon, untap target creature. So the cost is to return an elf, and then the ability is placed on the stack to untap a thing.
Yeah, so similar to how like sacrifice a creature an additional cost is
Right.
how it would work.
Yeah, like
Okay.
like Yawgmoth is sacrifice a creature, pay 1 life, colon.
Yeah, then do the thing.
Right.
Okay.
So you can't stop them from sacrificing the creature. That's part of the cost being paid.
Yes.
So Billy potentially asking if he has like a Bowmaster or Fatal Push or something. He can't respond to the Wirewood symbiote by shooting the elf that's being brought back to hand.
Yes.
And it does look like he has a Bowmaster too, so.
So it's just elves. So these are
The Tameo has been upticking,
because of this.
Yes.
so all these 1/1 elves not particularly relevant, at least in combat. Murktide hanging out over here. ready and willing to try to close out this game.
Absolutely. Every single time the card's on the battlefield, it's trying to close out the game.
Yeah. The endurance buys a turn minimum, right?
Yeah, thing has reach.
Yeah. So realistically, we've got Tamio trying to lock down all these one-power creatures, which leaves the Warcaller and the Nettle Sentinel as the only attackers outside of the Endurance, but the Endurance probably is hanging out for the Murktide. We're going to shoot down... Yeah, I like this. Shoot down the Heritage Druid. Make sure that Mike can't just generate gobs of mana.
Yes.
I think he's about to find out that Tamio's uptick makes this attack terrible, but... Oh, or is he floating mana in response? I'm unclear.
No.
I hope
All
he's
I
not
know is
attacking.
That is...
Oh, that looks like he's attacking. What's happening? Are they 2/2s?
I don't know. Oh, isn't he a lord? I can't remember what his name is. Something chieftain?
No, it's not Chieftain.
That's the only reason why, is I want the Heritage Druid then.
Elvish War Master. Okay.
Maybe he paid this?
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Mike did have a lot of mana. So we believe that Mike probably activated the Elvish War Master, which is a 7 mana. Elves you control get +2/+2 and Death Touch until end of turn. And if that's true, then yeah, Tamio going down to 2. There were 3 attacking tokens. One of them got blocked, so it would have been 4 damage total. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
The math checks out.
Okay, we're in Billy's turn. Billy upticks the Tamio.
Yeah, and it was an orc army that chump blocked.
Yes.
Just kept the Tamio alive. So, Tamio back up to 4. No access to tons of mana anymore since the Heritage Druid is down. So the Warcaller, at least for the moment, can't activate.
Casting... Tap for 3 mana there. Are we casting
Second
another
Murktide.
Yeah.
Grow the first one. Yeah.
Cast a Murktide Return Turtle.
So, okay. It's only 1 spell being exiled, which is fine. There's a Psychic Frog, so now we can instant speed grow both of them if we want to.
Yes, which I think...
Yeah, that's what I'm scared.
I think we attack with the big Murktide this turn to
Yeah.
eat the block with the Endurance.
So if I...
Yeah, I don't know if it...
Because that's happening, right? Like, you can't...
You can take 8, but, like, I don't think it matters. If you take 8 now, you're just dead next turn.
Yes.
So, yeah. I think it's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other kind of a thing. I don't think it matters if we block or don't block. This is a 2-turn lethal regardless.
Yeah. I guess the more what I'm thinking is if he doesn't block with the Endurance turn, do we just pop the...
Pop the frog and let it be 11 damage?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because we want the frog to fly next turn, right? We want to make sure that we have...
More damage coming
Yeah.
at him. Okay, I guess that makes sense. And we like the block with the Endurance happened, which you don't grow in response if that
Right.
happens. So
Yeah,
regardless,
yeah, absolutely.
So
One kind of nifty thing that we can do here, on the following turn at least. He's passing turn. Okay. One nifty thing that we can do here is downtick the Tamio to pick up the Consider, which will grow both of the Murktides, to cast the Consider to put an extra card in our graveyard,
No,
get
seems
another
good.
card deeper.
yeah,
Gives us 2 cards in our hand to discard to the Psychic Frog, more cards in our graveyard to exile to the Psychic Frog, which grows the Murktides that much more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out, because I have a funny line if I can pick this up, discard to the frog, exile the frog, and get +2/+2. I think that's worth doing.
Alright, so we've got Tamio downtick.
yeah. So exactly the line you were just saying is what Billy said out loud.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, the last...
Yeah, I'll start by minusing blah blah blah, you get bigger.
Yep, okay. Alright, so Billy takes it. Had to survive that one scary turn with the Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Tamio
managed to-
pulling its weight hard in that matchup.
Yeah.
For sure.
The, that uptick from Tamio bought
Yeah.
infinite time, really.
Yeah, especially because Mike was on that game plan, that game where he was just trying to make a whole bunch of 1/1s and go
Shooter
wide.
beat down.
Yeah. I mean, if the Crater Hoof ever resolved,
The game ends.
It's over.
That's why Billy like very very aggressively tried to manage the heritage druids, right? Like make sure that this one elf that produces so much mana, we have to manage the heritage druid and we have to manage the priest of Titania. And if we can do those two things,
Yeah,
then
it's a pretty close out game. And that was just like a thing that we're talking about again with mid-range being that deck that as long as you know when to answer the threats and what the right threats are,
Right.
and then, protect your big threat, get in for that damage, you're eventually going to win the game.
yes.
And so that was a great example for Billy there. And obviously why he won that 4-0 for that.
Yeah.
that-
Congratulations,
yeah.
Billy. Went undefeated this week. Really cool deck from Mike, too, though. Like, seeing elves
absolutely.
come out and shine, and he was 3-0 going into that last round, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he finished in the top couple. I don't remember how many people
Yeah, and even
were here that week, but...
playing against all odds there, like we said, the Tamiya was kind of just shutting off the deck there for a lot of turns.
Yeah,
so-
your whole plan B is shut
Yeah.
down by a Tamiya upticking.
Yeah,
Which is wild.
Which is real good against that deck, and kind of is why Billy just had just that slight foot up on the deck, which allowed him to get to that mid-rangey point and just start doing.
And once
Murktide things.
Murktide start doing Murktide things,
Yeah.
they close out the game very quickly,
Yeah.
like we've talked
I mean,
about.
that was
all night.
a Murktide got cast, and it was like 3 turns after that Murktide got cast, the game was over.
Game ended.
So
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Malachi, thanks for joining me.
Yes, sir.
Folks, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye bye.